So thank you everyone and welcome to the Care for Caregivers webinar series. Today we're going to be hearing on the BounceBack program, Reclaim Your Health program, a free CBT coaching program for Canadians experiencing mild to moderate anxiety or depression. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. If you experience any technical issues or are having difficulty with any part of this webinar, please send an email to webinars@safecarebc.ca. Just wanted to let everyone know this session is being recorded and will be available after this webinar on the Care for Caregivers website. Care for Caregivers is an initiative that's brought to you by as part of a collaboration between SafeCare BC, the Canadian Mental Health Association BC, with funding from the Ministry of Health and Mental Health and Addictions. And while we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the land which we each call home. I want to start by recognizing that we are gathered on the ancestral and unceded territories of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people across British Columbia. We thank them for being good caretakers of the land and allowing us to be visitors on the shared territory to do good work. I will quickly provide a brief intro on our wonderful speaker today. Stephanie has worked as part of the CMHA BC Division program for BounceBack for 7 years. First as a community coach and now as a quality assurance and training coordinator. Her current role includes operational support for program delivery across Canada and training BounceBack coaches in service delivery and best practices. And just before we start, I just wanted to bring your attention to the next few upcoming webinars. We have Healthy Brain, Resilient Mind with Terry Small on July 12th, and we have Confident Parent, Thriving Kids on July 27th. For more information on either of these webinars, please visit the Care for Caregivers website. And without any more time, I will turn it over to Stephanie.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name's Stephanie. I'm just going to share my screen and then we can get started. Perfect. Okay. Just checking, Conval, can you see my screen on your end? We're good? Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you so much for having me here today. Again, my name's Stephanie. I'm with the BounceBack program as a quality assurance and training coordinator. I'm very excited to be here to talk to you a bit about the program itself and also some CBT skills for checking in on your own mental health. So we're going to first break down the program itself, what it entails and what the materials involve, the types of populations that we serve. And then from there, we'll get into some actual demonstrations of how to apply CBT skills to your own life. Okay. So BounceBack is an evidence-based supported self-help program, which was created to teach CBT or cognitive behavioral therapy skills to people, helping them better manage feelings of low mood, stress, worry, anxiety, or mild to moderate depression. CBT itself is considered the gold standard treatment for these types of symptoms, and that's why we have chosen it as a centerpiece for our program. CMHA BC actually launched the BounceBack program originally in 2008 in an effort to create an easily accessible and free of charge mental health resource for adults in BC. Back in 2017, we opened up the program to youth participants aged 15 and older. And more recently in 2021, we actually expanded to youth 13 and plus. BounceBack is funded by PHSA, and all the materials we use are based on the work of Dr. Chris Williams. And just a little bit about Dr. Williams himself. So he's a psychiatrist and a CBT expert and emeritus professor of psychiatry at the University of Glasgow. Much of his professional career has been centered around the evaluation and adaptation of CBT approaches to a variety of educational self-help spaces. So who is BounceBack for? Typically, the program is a resource really for anybody looking to improve their well-being. So the main goal here is to teach useful coping skills for people that are experiencing, like I said, low mood, mild to moderate depression, anxiety, worry, or stress, those types of symptoms. So when low mood and worry problems don't qualify for a formal mental health diagnosis, sometimes they can fly under the radar, but at BounceBack, we believe that they, of course, deserve attention in their own right. And that's really what the program is designed for. So it's really to help people dealing with those types of challenges that are getting in the way of their everyday life and helping them get themselves back on track or learn the skills that they need to work with things like low motivation, boost their energy, make changes to sleep patterns or things of that nature. It's really helpful for people experiencing trouble relaxing as well, or for those who find that they might be feeling continuously on edge or worried. The materials provide participants, again, those CBT skills and tools so that they can reclaim their lives from those struggles. And along the way, it's meant to teach useful and practical strategies that can be incorporated into daily life and just help individuals cope better with future stressors or difficulties as they come along. So we actually have quite a few workbooks and materials available through the program. So the standard BounceBack workbook series involves 20 different titles that participants can choose from. Topics covered include anything from understanding low mood, depression, there's worry, panic, how physical illness affects mental health. There's also more specific topics such as learning how to notice and change unhelpful thinking patterns, how to work on sleep problems, learning how to be more assertive, and also tips for interpersonal relationships as well. All materials are available either through mail, hard copies, paper copies, or through digital access. And they've been translated into English, French. We have traditional Chinese as well in this series. BounceBack also makes use of another series authored by Dr. Chris Williams called The Living Life to the Full booklet. So this collection is very similar. The content and the concepts are very much the same as what's delivered in the large format. They're just more condensed and more simplified. We also have a youth series under this umbrella as well. And these booklets are also have been translated from English into French, Punjabi, traditional Chinese, and simplified Chinese as well. So the BounceBack program is actually delivered in 3 different options. So each are based around those exact same CBT materials, but users choose their preferred engagement methods. So either by participating in the BounceBack telephone coaching program. There's also BounceBack Online, which is a virtual independent study type program. And then we also have BounceBack Today, which is a video series that has some really great tools baked right in. It's just delivered in more of an easy to digest format. That's pretty straightforward. So anyone can access any one of these options or all 3, and they're all available at bouncebackbc.ca. By far, our most popular format is definitely our coaching program. And this is because participants are given access to their own BounceBack coach for up to 6 sessions of one-on-one telephone calls. Typically calls booked about 2 to 3 weeks apart. And the real strength of this format is that it's based on a self-dose and self-paced model. So this means that individuals have full control over how many sessions they would like to receive within that 6 number mark. And they also have full control over what they want to work on based on their own interests or areas of struggle. So the way it works is at the end of each coaching session, the participant will select the workbooks that they would like to work on independently during the few weeks between booked sessions. And then the role of the coach is to provide support and encouragement along the way as that individual completes the materials. So telephone sessions usually include a progress check-in to discuss main takeaways from the materials. Also some time to clarify any major topics or concepts that the individual might have gotten stuck on. Coaches also guide participants with goal setting and planning tasks, To me, I think the real strength of the coaching program comes from the ability for coaches to just bolster participants' motivation and also hold them accountable to plans that they've set for themselves. So it's a good opportunity to check in and see how the individual is doing and help them review plans that were set and make any changes if needed. The BounceBack coaching program in BC is available in English, French, Punjabi, Mandarin, and Cantonese. Okay. Individuals wanting to access the BounceBack coaching program can seek out a referral from a primary care provider, such as a GP, a nurse practitioner, a psychiatrist. Any of those will do. Youth participants can also be referred by a school counselor or a Foundry virtual counselor as well. During the pandemic, we have also created a self-referral portal where individuals can actually just sign up for the program independently. It's accessed again through that bouncebackbc.ca website. And I will mention that connection to a primary care provider is needed for even a self-referral as well. Although, again, a participant can use a telehealth service if they wanted to, or a walk-in clinic if they don't have a family physician at this time. All right, program outcomes. So BounceBack is proven to reduce the severity of depression and anxiety symptoms of program participants collected before and after they participate in the program. We use the PHQ-9 and GAD-7 assessments respectively to assess program outcomes. So based on data that we've collected from the BounceBack program since its infancy in 2008, to 2022, as demonstrated on this graph, over 15,000 people have reported an average of 48% reduction in depressive symptoms and an average of 50% reduction in anxiety symptoms. If you'd like to learn a little more about the program itself and program efficacy, we recommend that you view a study that was published in the January-February 2019 issue of the BC Medical Journal about the BounceBack program. It provides just a really nice overview of participant outcomes and just observes progress over the first 8 years of program delivery as well. Okay, so let's change pace and just jump in to take a closer look at some of the program content itself. And then we'll also talk about some of those CBT skills that you can take away from this presentation as well to check in on your own mental wellness. So as mentioned, all BounceBack program materials are based around a cognitive behavioral therapy approach known as CBT for short. Just like the name suggests, the foundation of this particular approach is based on the way we think, hence cognitive, and the way we behave, so that behavior element, or the way we act. So there's a number of ways CBT can be interpreted and applied in a mental health setting, but in BounceBack, we teach these skills using Dr. Chris Williams' 5 areas approach. So I have a little model here on the screen. As you can see, the idea is that we have these 5 areas in our lives, and it's made up of our thinking, our feelings, our behavior, our physical symptoms, and then the overarching life situations that occur to or around us. So the idea is that all of these areas are interconnected and they all impact each other. And the goal of the 5 areas model is to teach participants how to use this connection to their advantage in order to boost how they feel through skills like planning and goal setting and practical problem solving as well. So I have a video clip. I hope that this works. I think there's a way that I can enable sound to make sure that everyone can hear. Let me know if it's not working, but I'll press play and maybe just jump in and let me know if the sound isn't working on your end.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. But before I get started, I'll give you a little intro to this. So this is a clip from the Bounce Back Today video. It's just going to demonstrate how the 5 areas impact each other. It's narrated by the wonderful Dr. Jody Samra. She's a registered psychologist and a national thought leader on issues relating to psychological health and wellness and resilience overall. So in this clip, she's going to walk us through the 5 areas and how they can apply to a real life situation. Can you hear that on your end?
No, we don't hear any sound,
Oh, no. Okay.
unfortunately.
Let's really quick. I know that there's a way to do this. Oh, there we go. Share sound.
Look at this picture.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Everything inside the circle is inside you. The world icon outside represents external things, other people, outside events, money problems, relationship issues, your job, or the fact that you don't have one, that kind of thing. When something happens outside of you, it affects you inside as well. It can alter your thinking. It can alter how you feel. It can alter your physical well-being. And it can alter what you do, your behavior. All these things are connected and affect each other. This can mean that your mood gets worse and spirals downward so that you feel stuck in a vicious cycle. But it also means that by changing just one thing, such as eating differently or doing more exercise, or changing some of the ways you think about things, you can affect all of the other things inside you and start to feel better. Let's look at an example. You're walking down the street and you say hi to someone you know, but she says nothing. No smile, no acknowledgement. She just walks by. You think, what happened? Do they not like me anymore? Much like when you send someone a text and you don't hear back. This leads to altered emotions. Perhaps you feel anxious or down, and then that leads to altered behavior. You go home and maybe you avoid other people's company. You might notice you have low energy or feel restless. This might mean you can't sleep because you keep thinking about what happened. One outside event, a friend apparently ignoring you, has led to all of these changes in your mood and behavior. But here's the good news. To break this vicious cycle and stop it spiraling downward, you need only to change one part, your thinking, or your behavior, or your feelings about things. Any of these will do. So let's do that. Let's go back and start the whole scene again and look at how a change to just one area affects all the rest. You say hi to someone you know that you see on the street, and they walk by without responding. Instead of thinking, what happened? Do they not like me anymore? You could think, maybe they're distracted or didn't see me. You've altered your thinking. You catch up to her to ask her how she is. You've altered your behavior. You feel good about yourself because you took a positive step. You have altered your feelings. You walk away feeling confident, and you notice that you have more energy. Here it is in the diagram. Altered thinking leads to altered behavior, leads to altered feelings, leads to an altered physical state. And of course, all these altered thoughts, behaviors, and feelings are now working to keep you feeling good. These 2 scenarios illustrate a really important idea. It wasn't just the outside event that was the problem, it was the reaction to it that caused the upset and low mood. My friend ignored me in both examples. It was simply by altering my thinking about this situation that I was able to create a positive outcome for both of us.
All right. So in this clip, Dr. Samra first demonstrated how those 5 area tools can be used to help individuals figure out why they feel the way they do. Meaning it can be used to identify what we might be experiencing and the types of thoughts, physical symptoms, and behaviors that can disrupt our daily lives. And then we also saw Dr. Samra demonstrate how the model can be used to select a target and then facilitate change. So the general idea here is that because all of these areas are so closely interconnected, making a change in any particular area, wherever we feel the most comfortable, will ultimately reverberate and impact all the others. So typically people tend to gravitate towards making changes in area 2, thinking, or area 5, behavior first, because this is typically where we feel we have the most control. But there's really no wrong place to start. The great thing about the 5 areas assessment model is that it's really malleable and it can actually be used in so many different ways. So these first 2 methods, the understanding why we feel the way we do and choosing targets for change, are usually the first ways that people are introduced to the 5 areas model when they begin the BounceBack program. And that's because it's just a really great tool to help them understand maybe where their areas of struggle actually are, and how to identify desired areas to change, or targets where they can make changes right away. Ultimately, these will also be used to help them select which workbook topics they want to work on as they move through the program. So perhaps they identify that they want to make changes in their thinking style as a way to start out, and so they can start selecting workbooks about that specific topic. What we're going to do for the rest of today's call is actually explore a different way to use the 5 areas method as well. So it can be used as a self-reflection mechanism. And this is what we're going to build our self-check-ins on, as a really great tool for maintaining and checking in on your own personal wellness. Okay. So what do I mean by the term self-check-in? So a self-check-in is meant to be an exercise where you take some time to yourself to just look inward and analyze your current state of wellness. So it involves 3 main components. First will be identifying your own personal warning signs for when mental wellness might be declining. Then you're going to build an emergency plan to help you get back on track when those warning signs are present. And finally, the use of regularly scheduled check-in dates to help you monitor progress or how things are going. So early warning signs. So when discussing early warning signs, what we're really referring to here is the patterns of reactions that you might experience in times of stress or difficulty. So sometimes these occur consciously or subconsciously. You might not be aware of them, but they usually fall within those realms of the 5 areas categories. So again, things that you might be experiencing emotionally, types of thinking patterns you might be falling into, physical symptoms that might arise for you, and changes in your behavior, which could include increased likelihood of turning to unhelpful behaviors, or maybe even a decrease in favorable behaviors. What's really most important here, I think, is the note that the types of reactions experienced from person to person really can vary greatly. So it's really personal to you and your experience. And also that's why I think mental wellness really does begin with developing a better sense of self-awareness. Being aware of your own warning signs allows you to act quickly and get back on track once they are spotted. It's kind of like a fire alarm. If there was a fire in your home, your early warning signs are like that smoke detector that's going off and letting you know that something's not right within yourself or within your wellness. So I was hoping that we could complete a 5 areas assessment together and just explore some common early warning signs. So I believe in the Q&A section, Hanval has offered to just monitor and let me know if you can just type in some suggestions of what you think would fall into area 1 for just people in general or for yourself. So again, these are situations, relationships, and practical problems that we might experience outside of ourselves or around ourselves. So things can be like events or interactions that are common to us and that we know are likely to negatively impact how we feel. For example, a student who struggles with test anxiety might recognize that upcoming exams might be something that's causing them a great deal of distress. So something like that. It can also be everyday things like perhaps traffic. Being stuck in traffic really might make someone feel more stressed. So that could be an early warning sign that are just something that an individual acknowledges that might set them off or start them off on not a great path. So if you don't mind just throwing in the Q&A, just what else do you think would qualify as an early warning sign in area 1? I see cost of living, that's great, and lack of sleep. Yep. These are great, yep, lack of sleep. Family relationships, yes, that can be a big one for some people. Kids, partners, parents. Perfect. Kids, partners. Oh, lots of great suggestions here. Friends and relationships, yep, that's perfect. People being less friendly toward you. Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Camille. Yeah, just noticing maybe how people are reacting around us. And we can probably recognize that sometimes we might be making those associations or assumptions that aren't there, kind of like in the example that we watched with Dr. Samra. But, you know, feeling that way would definitely, I think, qualify as an area 1 type of early warning sign if we're feeling that way. Absolutely. Work, yes, work can be a big one for some people, right? Like feeling overwhelmed, particular, I think, maybe situations that we have with coworkers, feeling like we have too much work on our plate, or even just, yeah, a lack of opportunity is also a really good one, Sarah. Thank you. Lack of control over one's life. That's a good one as well. That's something that we definitely hear at BounceBack. There can be a variety of reasons why people feel that way, but feeling just a lack of control over one's life can definitely be really difficult for a lot of people, and something to kind of take notice of when we are feeling that way. Okay, that's great. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I think this is a really great starting list. But as you can see, like a lot of these are also just personal to the individual, right? So it depends on you and what really sets you off and triggers you. But I think we have a good mix here of things that might be a one-off situation, like a lack of sleep, or, you know, lack of sleep can also be a common daily issue depending if you have insomnia or difficulty with that. So they're kind of situations that are outside of ourselves that are really impacting the way that we feel. So next, we'll move to okay. Oops, I think I skipped ahead a little far. There we go. So area 2. Nope. There we go. Okay. Area 2 is altered thinking. So let's identify maybe some common types of thinking patterns that could point to some early warning signs. So this could be like overarching points of view or perspectives, or even specific thoughts that someone might be experiencing that we might quantify as an early warning sign. Paranoia, yes, that's a good one. The thoughts that I can't do this anymore. That's good. Not like me anymore, or like I don't feel like myself. Yep. Great. Unable to disconnect, right? So someone wrote unable to disconnect from the situation. So I would quantify that as like rumination. So that's a good one, a pattern of thinking, of getting stuck, like thinking about something over and over and over again. That can definitely be a big warning sign for some people that maybe their mental wellness is on a decline for sure. Sarah wrote feeling easily frustrated. Yes, that's a great one. The tricky thing here, I think, is that sometimes you'll see area 3s, of course, are feelings and emotions. And I think sometimes it can be tricky to differentiate between thoughts and feelings. And that's because just the nature of the English language often uses these two concepts a little interchangeably. So, for example, if I were to use a sentiment like, I feel like shopping, it's not automatically clear which areas this would fall under. Like it says feel right in the sentence, but there isn't really any emotions involved, right? So I think a good rule of thumb is to question whether the statement could be considered a fact or an opinion. So either of these would lead to a classification of thought. So, you know, Sarah put in the idea of being easily frustrated. So I think that could definitely lead into types of thinking patterns, but we might also consider that a feeling or an emotion. And I mean, there's no, at the end of the day, there's no like wrong answer either way, but I think it feeling frustrated or getting easily frustrated could kind of fall into either category in that way. So I'm going to just pop it into area 3. But before we get too far ahead, I'm going to go through and see if we have any other altered thinking. Inability to focus. Yes, absolutely. Unable to make decisions. That's a good one as well. Great. These are great. Okay. And then in that same vein, then let's hop to altered feelings and emotions. So what are some types of emotions or feelings someone might have that might be indicative of an early warning sign? So I see helplessness. That's a good one. That's a very good one. Feeling helpless. Deep sadness, yes. Feeling impatient. Angry. Or weepy, that's a good one too. Katie wrote stuck. Yes, that's a big one for some people too. Just feeling stuck, like there's no way to progress or things just aren't going to get better. That can be definitely a good warning sign. Stuck, feeling stressed. Yep. Feeling like they need to get away or be alone. That's a good one as well. So, you know, a desire to isolate can definitely be an indicator for some people that maybe they're not at their best if they're finding that they're withdrawing more and more often. Extremes of emotion. Yes, that's a good one as well. Feeling nervous or anxious. Yep, that's great. Decreased joy. Yes, that's also, especially in things that were previously very enjoyable, that's also a really great indicator that, you know, we might not be feeling our best when we're just not enjoying the things that we used to. That's a great one. Okay, so let's stop there. These are all really fantastic. And again, I'll just reiterate that, of course, this is really so dependent on yourself and what shows up for you. So, you know, what you experience in your area 3 or area 2 can be so different from the next person, right? So it's really about honing in on what happens for you and what those patterns are for you. Constantly feeling overwhelmed and apathy. Yes, those are also really great. I know I said I'd move on, but those are fantastic. Perfect. And so our last 2 areas are area 4. So this is physical symptoms or sensations. So these can be some physical indicators that something's not right. So for me, for example, I know that when I'm feeling very overwhelmed or stressed, I subconsciously, without realizing it, have a tendency to just clench my jaw. So I know when I start getting jaw pain that I need to check in on my own stress levels and on my own mental health as well. So what are some other early warning signs? So I saw jaw clenching. That's good. Headache. Headache. Yes. Not eating or overeating. Yep. Nausea. Yep. That's absolutely nausea. Let's see what else we have here. Teeth grinding. Yep. Constant headaches. Yes, absolutely. Upset stomach and the runs. Yes, absolutely. Always feeling tired. Very much so. I think, again, like sleep can definitely be a really big indicator for us when something's not right. So being aware of even the fact that we're more tired, that we want to sleep more than usual, or that we can't sleep. Dizziness, yes, absolutely. That's definitely something some people experience. Sweaty hands, yes. So just feeling maybe like sweaty or clammy palms, especially for people that experience anxiety or panic and panic disorders. Like I hear a lot that like that is obviously something that a lot of people do experience in the moment. And that is an indicator, even if you're trying to just check in on the moment on how you're feeling, that could be a first warning sign for a lot of people that they're not feeling their best. Picking at fingers and skin, yeah. So those types of just kind of repetitive, maybe small behaviors like that, like picking, or some people like can like pull hair or things like that. Those can be indicators when those behaviors start to increase that we're really not feeling our best. So I'm going to put that in as well. Let's put picking. Pain and weakness in body. That's a good one as well, that a lot of people do tend to experience just pain, just general pain when they're not feeling well in a mental health situation. So our mental health is so connected to our bodies. And so it's really important to understand that like there is a physical component for a lot of people. Okay, great. And just clenching as well. So I think a lot of people, I was going to stop it there, but I think that's a good one too. I think a lot of people once you kind of tune into yourself, you'll notice that at times when you feel stressed, you might actually be clenching your muscles and your body even more than just your jaw in a lot of ways, because that's like that tension is kind of a way that our body like responds to those types of situations. So it's good to kind of hone in when we are doing that, because that can be maybe even what's causing that pain that we experience when our mental health isn't where we want it to be. That's great. Okay, so let's muscular tension as well. Thank you, Camille. Yeah, that's perfect. I'll put that in. Okay. Feeling shaky is a good one too. Okay, great. So I think that's a pretty great list. It's back by accident. It's a pretty great list, I think, of some good physical warning signs that things might be not so great for us from a mental health standpoint. Can we think of some behaviors that might fall under that category as well? Right, so changes in sleep. I feel like feeling lethargic, sleeping more, and not working out as much. So I'll put both of those down. So changes in sleep, motivation to exercise, substance use, yep. So relying on those maybe unhelpful substances that we feel like we need to get through the day. That could be alcohol or drugs, or it could even be like an increase, like maybe you're just drinking more coffee as well. Like that can be an indicator that like something's off, like you really need that extra boost to get you through the day because you're not feeling your best. Use the yelling and not speaking. So changes in communication style can be a big one as well. And sometimes that can be indicated in a relationship. So kind of tied back to situation one, but really the way that we respond when we're not feeling our best, absolutely a great indicator that we're not feeling great. Not answering or returning calls. I think that's a really good one too. Like I know for myself, if I'm not feeling my best, I tend to kind of avoid even text messages seem sometimes like they're too hard, and I just can't really engage with that because I'm just trying to focus on getting through my day. So that can definitely be a warning sign for some people and a good indicator that something's off if they're suddenly noticing that they just don't have the motivation to just connect with others, even through technology. Oops. Phone, text, email. I'll put in person as well, because again, I think we've talked about this in an earlier one, but self-isolation can really be a big indicator that we're not feeling our best as well. Those times when, you know, like putting in the extra effort to socialize just feels like too much. And if you catch yourself feeling like that on a regular basis, that can be a big indicator that something's off. Oh, and Courtney wrote socializing. So yeah, that's perfect. Criticizing others more. Yes, that can be another one too. I think that kind of might fall under communication styles. But again, like recognizing the way that we are interacting with others, maybe we become more critical of our partner or our kids, and just catching ourselves and being aware that like that is a warning sign that I'm not feeling my best. Maybe it's not about them, maybe it's about me in that situation. Forgetfulness, repetitive behaviors. Yes, that's good. Yeah, absolutely. Repetitive behaviors, again, kind of like when we were talking about like picking behaviors or like biting your nails, things like that can definitely be a coping mechanism. You know, like we're just trying to get some control and stimulate ourselves in different ways. And if you're noticing that for some people, it could definitely be an indicator that they're not feeling their best. And forgetfulness, yes. I think a lot of people can experience some brain fog when their mental health isn't where they want it to be. Okay, so we'll stop there just because we're getting a little short on time. But these are all such great like ideas. And I think it seems like we all have a great understanding of the different ways that we can be impacted when we're not feeling our best, and maybe when our mental health is worsening as well. Absolutely, I'd be happy to share this list with you. Sorry, someone wrote in the chat that they enjoyed the exercise and they'd like to be able to get the list. So absolutely, this is something I'd be happy to share with all of you. Okay, so the next step in your mental wellness check-in is creating an emergency plan. So once you have that understanding of what your signs are or what your warning signs are, it's good to already have an emergency plan in mind of how you can respond and how you can improve the way you feel. So ideally, this would include things that give you a sense of pleasure, achievement, closeness with others, really just things that you value and help you feel better when you are experiencing these things. So like, remember, those early warning signs are like that indicator that something is off and that, you know, it's time to focus inward. And so it's really important that you direct your attention to yourself in those moments. Again, like that example of the smoke alarm, like alerting you that it's time to maybe direct your attention away from your TV and focus on something that's happening in your house. It's that warning sign. And so your emergency plan is essentially like the protocols that you would enact if there was that danger in your home. So if there was a fire in your home, you would figure out the source, where it is. You would also, like, depending on what started the fire, put water on it or put like a baking powder or something like that, get a fire extinguisher. Your emergency plan is kind of like the steps that you take to respond and consciously act against those unhelpful reactions that you might be experiencing. So the goal here is to return to habits that have helped you in the past. Or you can try building new helpful habits as well that you think would be helpful for you. The key here is really prioritize those self-care activities and make sure you're doing things in your emergency plan that you genuinely enjoy. So this can include reaching out to people in your life who support you to help kind of counteract those desires, especially if you find that you're self-isolating as one of your warning signs. Purposely acting against that and, you know, just like maintaining that connection with even just one person close to you can make a huge difference. We also recommend, it's important to connect with a healthcare practitioner. Like if you have your own healthcare practitioner, going and talking to them and discussing when you feel this way is very important. And they can also help get you connected, of course, with resources to help support you and also work through it as well. So I have an example here on the screen of what it would look like for a participant working on this type of activity. So this individual is named Anne. So Anne has identified her early warning signs and then responses to each individual sign. So you can see she's identified her most common warning signs and planned out like preemptive strategies on how to work through them. You might notice just by looking at the image as well, like, for some categories or some areas, she has more than one warning sign. And in others, she has none. So in this example, like Anne has, I think, nothing listed that would fall under area 1, but she has various warning signs that would be considered area 4 or behavior, right? So this is completely okay. Like, again, this is yours to build based on, how your early warning signs impact you. So there is no, you don't have to have something for every category if that's just not your situation. But you can see here, like she's noticed that she has some maybe negative predictions, or she does some mind reading. It might be something that she experiences when she's not feeling her best. So her response when she notices that is to identify and challenge those extreme and unhelpful thoughts. When she's feeling low and wheezy, she's going to do the above things. She's going to go see her doctor, and she's going to talk about whether other help or support might be helpful. When she's experiencing physical symptoms like low energy or feeling worse in the morning, she's going to, purposely build her day around that fact. So she's going to do more difficult tasks later on in the day when she knows she's going to feel better. And she's going to do things at a level that she can better cope as well. So just recognizing the reality that like I'm living with this. How can I help myself cope better in these times, so that getting through the day isn't as much of a struggle as well. So those are all valid ways that you can kind of work through experiencing the early warning signs, but then responding in helpful ways as well. Okay, so I know we're a little tight for time, but I was hoping we can do just a really quick brainstorm together. What are some common maybe ideas, like responses or strategies that someone might have in their emergency plan? So helpful things that you can do when you're not feeling your best. Again, if you don't mind just throwing it in the chat, or the Q&A, I should say. Micro breaks at work, that's a great idea. So especially if you're recognizing that work is like, you put that in your area 1 as something that you really struggle with, making sure that you're taking all your breaks, because I know that's something that at least I struggle with. When I'm feeling very stressed, I'll try to push through the day, but I know that I need to make sure that I'm prioritizing taking my breaks, and it helps me feel better. Art therapy, that's a great suggestion. So doing things, again, that are valuable to you and that help you feel better in those moments are so important. Connecting with nature, so local nature outing or staycation. I love that. Connect with nature. Asking for help with tasks. Yes, so delegating. If you have the ability to do so, recognizing that, sometimes we take on too much, and it's okay to ask for help, even in work situations. So being more open to delegating when we are noticing that we're feeling very stressed. Fresh air. Yes, even just stepping out and like making sure that we're carving out that time in our day just to kind of disconnect and step away from our computers. That's so important. So I like that a lot. Volunteering, absolutely. Again, I think this goes back to what I was saying about doing things that you value that make you feel good. And like sometimes stepping outside of ourselves and focusing on helping other people can really help us feel more fulfilled. So that can definitely be a part of your emergency plan. That's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to pause there. There's some really great suggestions here. We have some self-care things like massages, healthy exercises, soaking in the tub. All of these are fantastic ideas. Some of them are things that we have to plan ahead, like maybe art therapy or volunteering. And some are things that we can do right away in the moment as well. So it's good to have a balance of that. But, you know, like have these already like in mind of things that I can do and reach on when I'm not feeling my best. And I know that this sounds very straightforward, like it's common sense. Of course, I'm not feeling good, I'm going to do self-care. But it's really important that we're actually like consciously making the decision to do so and practicing applying it, because I think that's where things kind of slip through the cracks. It's very easy to assume that it's common sense, but in the moment when we're not feeling our best, it's hard to actually apply them or do them, or even just remember that these are things that help me feel better. So having that emergency plan in place ahead of time is so key. This is great. Thank you, everybody, for your suggestion. I'm so sorry that I had to cut that short. I'd love to keep talking about some really great emergency plan ideas. These are all fantastic. Oh, and before I move on, I do want to note the tip I've provided here just regarding next steps. If you're finding yourself in a place where your emergency plan is ineffective and you feel your mental health or your mental wellness worsening, it is really important to take notice and take action. So again, going back to that example of the fire in your home, it's like calling a fire department if the fire in your house has grown out of control, despite your efforts to manage it on your own. And in those situations, you ask for help from others, and that would be the fire department. It's very much like that. So when your mental illness begins to feel unmanageable on your own, it's really crucial to be ready to reach out to someone like a trusted friend or family member, or even a healthcare provider for more help. I know many of you are healthcare workers, and so you're probably very knowledgeable of emergency support services available in BC, but I would be remiss not to mention that if you are feeling unsafe, support is available to you. There's a BC-wide crisis line. That phone number is 1-800-SUICIDE. There's also the option of calling 911 or the mobile response team. So this is the PHA service that's dedicated to supporting first responders, healthcare workers, and community providers experiencing distress and mental health concerns. So that phone number is 1-800-686-3022. Okay. There we are. So the last step of a self check-in is really about purposely scheduling times for yourself to do these checks in on how you're feeling and monitor your progress or how you're feeling in the moment. So it's good to keep in mind that although these steps might, like I said, seem really straightforward, again, that act of actually remembering to stop and do that self check-in is truly a skill to be learned in itself. So without any intentional planning, it can be really easy to forget to take that time and focus in on yourself and reflect on how you feel, especially, you know, when you're feeling really stressed or in times of difficulty. So for this reason, we recommend that you start off just building the habit manually by carving out regular time in your calendar for you. So the frequency in which you complete these is completely up to you. It's recommended that you set your check-ins to reoccur at regular intervals, probably once a week or once a month. Some people like to purposely schedule them on the last day of the week or the month. It just makes it easier to remember. But do what works best for you. So find a pattern that works well in your schedule. But you really just need 30 minutes of block of time protected just for you. And during that time, you can complete a 5 areas assessment. Again, I'll provide, along with the slides, a blank 5 areas assessment sheet, so you can kind of fill one out on your own, and you can make copies of it and do it as often as you like. This can also be a good time to consider whether those previously identified early warning signs might be occurring for you, or maybe you'll observe new ones that have arrived or that you've started to experience. And if so, this is also a good indication that it's time to either implement your emergency plan, or if you've already put your emergency plan into action and you're checking in and it still hasn't improved, it might be a good time to reassess whether it's time to go talk to a healthcare professional or even someone in your support group. I think the key thing that I want you to take away is that, like, this is your time and you deserve to have time dedicated to yourself. So feel free to, like, make it your own, add activities to your self check-ins that are important to you, and really just prioritize yourself. So maybe you could dedicate some of your time to goal setting or making plans for things that you want to accomplish. Maybe you could find value in spending some time just meditating or practicing mindfulness or other types of self-care in that way as well. The key here is just make it your own, and make sure you're dedicating this time to activities that are meaningful to you. That's what's most important. All righty, so there you have it, the 3 steps to mental wellness check-ins. So using these on a regular basis will help you kind of build a better understanding of yourself and help you respond more quickly once you do identify that you're not feeling your best. This is also just one of the skills that BounceBack teaches participants, and it's a good foundation for being just overall more resilient and having a stronger sense of well-being as well. So there are far more topics that BounceBack does cover, and it kind of expands on these types of ideas as well. So I know, again, we're kind of tight for time. I did have a slide here for if anyone has any questions. If you want to just pop those in the Q&A. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. Yes, someone pointed out in the chat box that if you are making an appointment with your healthcare practitioner, make sure you do identify upfront that it's a mental health issue. That's a very good point. Thank you for sharing. Yes. Camille asked, should the 5 areas assessment for the regular check-in be about what's happening in the moment of the scheduled check-in or of a problem? That's really up to you. Again, because it's malleable, that model can be used in so many different ways. I think it depends on you in the moment. So if you feel like there is a specific problem that, like, you want to assess how you're dealing with it, or maybe how you can tackle it, you can do a 5 areas assessment just on that one specific problem, or you can use it like we did today and do it for an overall check-in on how you're feeling in the moment as well. It's a great question, Camille. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. We really appreciate your time. This has been a very informative and helpful session. There was a couple of questions about the slide deck and the recording. The slide deck, if you email webinars@safecarebc.ca, I can share that with you, and the recording will be available on the Care for Caregivers website. There's just one more question that came in. Are there any resources on how to communicate with the doctor on these matters, especially if previously gone to the doctor and have been rebuffed?
Absolutely. So we have some really great resources generally on how to be more assertive and how to advocate for your needs better. And also, I think coaches are really adept at talking about these types of things with participants and talking to them about how they can reach out to their doctor and kind of communicate these things more effectively as well. So definitely, I think BounceBack would be a good resource for someone who feels this way and would like to learn more ways about how to advocate for themselves in those types of situations, because it can be hard for a lot of people. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your questions. Just being mindful of anyone's times. If there's any additional questions, Stephanie shared her email address on the bottom of the screen, as well as webinars@safecarebc. I can connect you to Stephanie as well. Thank you, everyone. A special thank you to Stephanie. This has been such an informative and helpful session for all of us. I think we all took something away that we could apply on our day-to-day life and our struggles. So thank you, really appreciate it. And we hope that we could connect with you again soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.